Hi folks, it's Lapp, and I'm terrified. No, it's not because of my continuing suspicions on airplane peanuts. I'm just terrified. What am I terrified at? Well, to provide context, recently when I was doing a job and got fired, I saw this huge crack in the sky. What's wrong with cracks and why am I scared of them? Well, it hurts my eyes.
Hey Lapp, can I talk to you about stuff I've been thinking about lately?
Not the time, Emerald.
But it's kind of important, you know? I like talking about stuff, right?
Be quiet, Emerald, or else the crack will act up or some. Speaking of which...
Hello, fellow Red Invader. Unfortunately, due to recent events, you can't go outside. Many state that it's too dangerous to go outside at this time because of two reasons. It's dry paint on the wall season, and because of recently forming cracks in the sky that is still being investigated currently. If you want to stay safe, don't go outside, and stop your urge of buying every product of toilet paper within the mile radius. Thank you, and go Bears. Wait, wrong slogan.
Well, due to the circumstances at the moment, I decided that I'm gonna suit up and prepare for what's coming. I am ready.
So you might be wondering, why be cautious about giant cracks in the sky? Well, my gut said so. What does my gut rely on? Emotions. What are emotions? Good question. They're created by our brain, and we don't really know when they occur, but they correspond with our thoughts, or the way we feel. While thoughts happen consciously, subconsciously, or unconsciously, emotions occur unconsciously. They give meaning to bodily sensations or experiences we have in life. Along with that, we have emotions because it helps us communicate with others and determine how we act in scenarios, like identifying what we like or not. There are a lot of common emotions we feel in life, with there being 6 basic emotions we feel. Many scientists claim that there are actually 27 distinct human emotions we can feel, but they were divided into 6 categories, each representing a basic emotion. This was tested by a theory created by Paul Ekman, which showed the best evidence of there being 6 basic emotions such as happiness, sadness, anger, excitement, tenderness, and fear. But that doesn't stop there. For people who still feel restricted with the amount of emos you have, a psychologist named Robert Plutchik claimed that humans can experience up to 34,000 unique emotions. Is this true? Not sure, but if it is, one day, I'll write it on my tombstone. Sometimes we experience one or more emotions based on how complicated we feel. It helps us understand others and make decisions, especially when we need to take action on something. This mostly applies with positive or neutral emotions we have. However, it's a different case scenario with negative emotions. One of anger or sadness, more specifically hate, jealousy. What's that emotion called again?
It has a name?
Well, it's not just a name, but also an acronym. I guess it makes sense that people have an emotion that gives us an unpleasant feeling. Fear is exactly that. More or less is to feel dread, fright, or panic. It's something that is triggered when based on psychological changes that leads to reactions of aggression that can be uncontrollable or unavoidable at times. It serves as a survival mechanism similar to stress and is similar to how anxiety affects the way we perceive as threats.
Fear can come from many places. In fact, I'd say there are so many ways that at random, well, you discover a new one, such as
fear is connected to having feelings that are alien to us. Not just a feeling of unpleasantry, but also something that feels unknown to us. Could be dangerous, could it hurt you, physically or mentally? That's what evokes that fear, which is how phobias are created. There are at least 500 phobias listed online, which goes to show the extent of how fear can come from almost anything for anyone. I mean, really, someone's gotta be scared of plastic on their faces. What are the 3 fears that most humans are scared of? Fear of death, abandonment, or failure. Which makes sense, as they are feelings we tend to avoid the most because of how strong the feeling is. There are also basic fears, such as the ones related to safety, control, disconnection, unworthiness, extinction, mutilation. There's so many to the point where I can't fill up a screen with them. However, fear comes in categories too. There tends to be at least 3 types of fears: primal, irrational, or rational. Primal fear is something programmed into our brains based on someone's or our own knowledge to be safe. They can usually be natural fears that relate to loud noises, heights, darkness, and other evolutionary dependent things. Rational fear is a reaction to real threats that we feel the need for protection. And irrational fear is something that we can fear despite there being no threat imminent. This mostly applies to how we fear future situations in order to avoid the possibility from happening. Phobias, for example, are things that we try to avoid to prevent ourselves from harm. They can start based on a bad experience, depending on what the phobia is. The difference between rational and irrational thinking, however, is that for rational thinking, we'll think something that is true. It's more logical with reasoning and evidence, whereas irrational thinking is very unlikely to happen. They may not make sense because it's triggered emotionally, and it's difficult to identify whether that fear is actually true or not. It can be based on catastrophizing things, or coming off core beliefs and personal biases. It may not be based on reason, logic, or evidence either. Thoughts pile up over time and lead to overthinking things, causing you to feel distressed and prone to anxiety. In other words, your feelings could be happening on something that might be false as a fear. Fear is something that can manipulate our senses of thought and the way we handle situations we're in. And unfortunately, in life, we will always have times when we have fear. It's one of the things that makes us human. We got things that we're afraid of, and that's okay. After all, there is always a way to overcome it somehow. I'm not so sure if it'll be easy based on what the fear is. And if there truly isn't a way to get over it entirely, you can try to make a coping strategy. The best thing to do is identify what your fear is, along with negative thoughts corresponding with it. Then you can find what contradicts those thoughts based on logic and evidence. Then come up with a desensitizing technique. If you're scared of something or an object, try to expose yourself more near them. Like if you have icnophobia, touch pencils more. If you have a rational fear that bothers you because you feel frozen, try to relax for a moment. Find your happy place and try not to stress out. Everyone fears something. So do I. And that's okay. It's just part of our survival instincts. It protects us and keeps us alert. It's just that the worse the fear seems to be, and the more you think about it, asking more questions about it, slowly becoming existential, then it'll really be problematic. But now that I think about it, huge cracks in the sky seem to be an irrational fear, so I don't care anymore.
Well, now that I've figured out how to conquer my fears, I am all set and ready for what's to come. I mean, come on, I don't know why I was scared about huge cracks in the sky anyways. Of course, I still have some fears, like playing Pac-Man Party at night, and Mighty Number 9's long 4-hour credits, but I think I can conquer them. As long as I have the ability to conquer them, then I think I'll be A-okay for what comes next. Well, what about you, Emerald? I mean, do you have some fears?
Huh? Yeah, I don't want to go back home.
Oh, that's nice. Wait, what do you mean?
I don't know. I'm still figuring it out myself.
What makes you want to stay here? Aren't you from the computer? There has to be some sort of explanation for this, unless you're malfunctioning or something.
I'm not a machine, Lapp.
Well, technically you came from a computer.
Okay, yeah, I did. But that doesn't always change the way I feel.
Oh, please, you have feelings?
Yeah, I do have feelings. What makes you think I don't?
Isn't it obvious? After all this time?
Then tell me.
Because you're just a computer program.
Really?
It's true, right? Well, why does it matter?
I'll tell you why it matters, idiot. You think that just because I'm not a human, I'm not capable of feelings?
Look, I didn't mean...
Just shut up. I'm going out. But I'll ask you one thing. Why are you just helping me if you just can't figure out what to do?